name's Patsy Hannebrink. I'm teaching at Clear Creek School. I've been here for 25 years. And I have a fantastic fourth grade class that will be reading for you today. This is my third year to have the Salute to New Readers in my classroom. Hope you enjoy it.
My name is Ellie and I'm going to be reading Cupid Doesn't Flip Hamburgers. It looks like a car store exploded in here, Howie said, looking around the cafeteria. All sizes of red, pink, and white paper hearts were everywhere the kids looked. Hearts were plastered to the walls, hanging from the ceiling, and even stuck onto the garbage cans. Melody giggled. They must have had a 5-for-1 heart sale. 5 dumb decorations for the price of 1, Eddie said. This place looks stupid. I think it's pretty, Lisa said. After all, Valentine's Day is less than a week away. Eddie rolled his eyes. Valentine's Day is for 3-year-olds who don't have anything better to do. Valentine's Day is for telling people you like them, Melody told him. Or that you love them, Lisa giggled. That's disgusting, Eddie said. There's nothing disgusting about love, said a voice from beside them. But you'll find that out soon enough. Eddie looked up and gulped. In front of him was the biggest red dress he'd ever seen, and it was being worn by the biggest woman he'd ever seen. Almost everything about her was big and red, from her big, bright red lips to her fluffy, reddish blonde hair. Even the heart button on her apron and her dangling heart earrings were big and red. But when she grabbed Eddie's cheeks, he noticed that her fingernails were painted hot pink with little white arrows on them. You're just the cutest little thing, the woman said as she squeezed Eddie's cheeks. I just love your red hair. What a cutie pie. You must be Mrs. Rosenblum, the new cook, Lisa said. Welcome to Bailey Elementary. Lisa held out her valentine to the big woman. Why, thank you, sugar. Mrs. Rosenblum smiled and gave her a big bear hug. I just know I'm going to love it here. We hope so, Howie said politely. Did you do the decorating? Why, yes, Mrs. Rosenblum blushed. I just love Valentine's Day. But that's enough talking. Come eat. The 4 kids followed the rest of their class through the lunch line and picked up their trays. I've never seen so much red in my life, Eddie said. Everything on their lunch trays was red. There was heart-shaped meatloaf covered with ketchup and a tomato slice in a heart shape. Each tray had a slice of red apple with a heart-shaped blob of cherry jello. Thank you for listening to me read.
I'm Gloria and I'm reading Mermaids Don't Run Track. Follow me to the track, Miss Waterfall said. She jogged down a dirt path to a brand new racing track. The 3rd graders ran after her with Mr. Jenkins trotting behind. Miss Waterfall blew a large conch shell and began the run. The kids raced around the big circle. Before long, Howie felt dizzy. I think I'm a little too warmed up now, Howie told Miss Waterfall. Lisa nodded. Can we stop? I'm tired of running. Miss Waterfall jogged in place to answer. I never get tired of running, she said. I love the feel of my sneakers hitting the ground. It's like music to me. How can running in circles be music? Eddie asked. Miss Waterfall smiled. Listen and you'll hear it. She made the kids get in a circle and jog in place. Soon their sneakers started hitting the track at the same time. It sounded like a distant war drum. Now all we need are some words, Miss Waterfall said, and we'll be making our own victory music. Follow me. Miss Waterfall started jogging around the track. All Bailey school kids followed her. In a clear voice, she sang words to go with their steps. Bailey school kids run all day, getting faster all the way. Round this track we'll run again. This way we are sure to win. All the kids were singing with her. Before they realized it, they had already circled the track 4 more times. That was great, Lisa said. She was barely even panting. Melody nodded. Miss Waterfall's song helped me forget how tired I was. Miss Waterfall touched the seashell comb in her hair and nodded. You have worked hard. Perhaps you would like to cool off by wading in the lake. All right, Eddie cheered. The kids ran to their cabins to change into swimsuits. Melody was the first one ready. Lisa, Howie, and Eddie were close behind. Race you to the water, Melody said. Melody ran fast, but Miss Waterfall easily zipped past her. Thank you for listening to me read.
Hi, I'm Julia, and I'm reading Beasts and Ramona.
Her sky turned out to be too wet, so while it dried a little, Beezus looked at what the other boys and girls were doing. Celia, who sat on her left, had already filled in a brave, bold background of pink, which she had already sprinkled with big purple dots. Now she was painting a long gray line that wound all over her paper and out around the dots. "What's that supposed to be?" whispered Beezus. "I'm not sure yet," answered Celia. Beezus felt better because Celia was the kind of girl who usually knew exactly what she was doing and whose pictures were often tacked in the center of the wall. The boy on the other side of Celia, who always wanted to paint airplanes, was painting what looked like a giraffe made of pieces of machinery. And another boy was painting a thing that had two heads. Beezus looked across Ramona to Wayne. He had not bothered with the sky at all. He had painted a hen because Beezus knew it was a hen because he had printed in big letters, "This is a real hen," with an arrow pointing to it. Wayne always tried to do just the opposite of what Miss Robbins wanted. "Hey, quit peeking," said Wayne in a loud voice. "I'm not peeking," said Beezus hastily, trying to look as if she had been interested in Ramona's paper all the time. Ramona had dipped her brush into the blue paint and had painted a blue stripe across the top of her paper. "That's the sky," she said happily. "But that's not the way the sky is." Beezus was trying to be helpful. She felt better because Ramona had not plunged in and painted a picture of full imagination. Skies should come farther down on the paper. "The sky is up," said Ramona firmly. Thank you for listening to me read.
Hi, my name is Allie, and I'm going to be reading The Magic School Bus Gets Eaten. Mrs. Frizzle pressed a button, and suddenly we were shrinking. "There we go," she said, whispered Tim. "Class, please put on the specially designed underwater breathing masks that you will find under your seats. Then off we go. Remember, look for connections," said the Frizz as she opened the door of the bus. "According to my research, phytoplankton live in the part of the ocean near the surface that gets sunlight," explained Dorothy Ann. "And I thought stepping in this stuff was bad." "Look at me," said Dorothy Ann as she rode on one of the phytoplankton. Just then a much bigger creature floated by and ate the phytoplankton out from under her. "Yikes!" she yelled. "Look out, everyone! We're the right size to become somebody's food! Help!" Just in time, the magic school bus swam by and grabbed us in a net. "All aboard!" called Mrs. Frizzle. "As I say, it's better to be in the bus than in someone else." "Quick, let's get big!" begged Arnold. "No sooner said than done," answered Mrs. Frizzle, and with a spin and a whoosh, we grew the size of the thing that had just tried to eat us. Mrs. Frizzle said it was called zooplankton. "Phew, we're safe," said Arnold. We looked out at the strange creatures floating around us. "Look at these guys," said Carlos. "They are not guys, they're zooplankton," said Wanda. "But what is that huge thing?" she asked, pointing to a fish that looked enormous to us. "That is an anchovy, Wanda," said Mrs. Frizzle. Ralphie shuddered. His dad ate salty anchovies on pizza. Now that yucky fish wanted to eat him. Mrs. Frizzle pressed a yellow button, and we felt ourselves growing again. Thank you for listening to me read.
Hi, my name is Robert, and I'm going to be reading Junie B. Jones and the Yucky Blucky Fruitcake. My name is Junie B. Jones. The B stands for Beatrix, except I don't like Beatrice. I just like B, and that's all. I am in the grade of kindergarten. It is the afternoon kind. Afternoon kindergarten is better than morning kindergarten. That's because you get to sleep late and watch cartoons. Only guess what? Today my baby brother named Ollie woke me up very too early. He was screaming for his bottle, but screaming is not polite, and so he needed some discipline, I think. I sat up in my bed. "Hey, shut up your face!" I hollered. Mother opened my door speedy quick. Her eyes were angry at me. "Junie B. Jones, what do you think you're doing?" she growled. I hid from her under my sheet. "I think I'm doing discipline," I said kind of quiet. "Please, Junie B., not today," said Mother. "Daddy and I need you to be on your best behavior. We both have to go to work early, and Grandpa Miller is coming to babysit." Just then I heard the front door open. "Grandpa! It's my Grandpa Frank Miller!" I shouted. I jumped on my bed and ran to meet him. Only too bad for Grandpa, 'cause he didn't see me coming around the corner, and I accidentally butted him in the stomach with my head. Grandpa yelled the word of oomph. Then he bent way over in half, and me and Mother and Daddy had to help him walk to the couch. Daddy did a frown at me. "How many times do I have to tell you not to run in the house?" And he said, "I counted all my fingers, 1,000,000, trillion, skadillion, I think, only I'm just guessing." After that, Mother made me sit on her lap, and she told Grandpa Frank Miller the babysitter instructions on me. Thank you for listening to me read.
Hi, my name is Tracy Gunn, and I'm going to be reading The Five Ancestors, the Eagle. Bang! 16-year-old Ying shoved his former sister Hawk to the ground with all his might. He saw her eyes widen as a cooling ball whistled over her head. Ying's carved face twisted into an angry scowl. How many times was he going to save her life like that? He turned and slammed the door closed on the burning arena of the Jinan Fight Club. Inside the closed main tunnel, Ying's eyes quickly adjusted to the orange-yellow glow of the lining the stone wall corridor. He glanced down at Hawk and next to her said, through the smoke drifting in from the under the door, Ying saw that Hawk held a tiny jade crane in one hand and Leo's ornate monkey stick in the other. Both were trophies from her time in the pit arena. In his own hands, Ying held his long chain whip and a ring of keys he's just taken from Leo Shu, the Qing Welding Fight Club owner. Leo Shu screamed suddenly on the other side of the door, and Ying heard roof timbers crush down. The ground and walls shook and Ying knew that Leo Shu, the rat, would give them no more trouble. Ying spat and pivoted away from the door, ignoring the pain of the cracked ribs and weak old bone bruises. The nagging injuries were his trophies, presented to him in a prison by General Chizong almost a month before. Ying wrapped his chain whip around his waist and groaned. He grabbed the collar of Hawk's dress and yanking her to her feet. "Move!" Ying hissed, pointing to the door down to the corridor. He looked at his former brother said, "You too." Thank you for listening to me read.
Hi, my name is Jonathan. I'm going to be reading The Magic School Bus in the Time of the Dinosaurs. It was Visitors' Day at our school. Parents, relatives, and friends were coming that afternoon to see our work. In Mrs. Frizzle's class, we're making the whole room into dinosaur land. Suddenly, Mrs. Frizzle said, "Please pay attention, children. I have wonderful news. Our class has been invited to a dinosaur dig," explained the Frizz. "We'll be leaving right away." As we went out, one kid grabbed a video camera. Others took along model dinosaurs for good luck. When you have the wackiest teacher in the school, you'll need all the luck you can get. We couldn't believe we had to get on that rickety old school bus again. Kids held their lucky dinosaurs tight and hoped for the best. As we rolled onto the highway, Mrs. Frizzle shouted out from the driver's seat, "We're on our way to fossil country, kids. Who knows what a fossil is?" Luckily, we had done our homework. We knew a fossil is anything left from a prehistoric animal or plant. After we had been driving for a long time, we came to a desert where people were working. Mrs. Frizzle said, this was the dinosaur dig. The people were paleontologists, scientists who studied prehistoric life. Everyone at the dig was working hard, using all kinds of tools to separate fossils from the rocks around them. The paleontologists told us they had found the fossil bones of a duck-billed dinosaur called Mandasura. The paleontologists seemed sad. We were looking for fossil eggs. They said, but we haven't found any yet. We saw a gleam in Mrs. Frizzle's eyes. Want to look for some Mandasura nests, kids? She shouted. She rushed us into the bus and drove off. We hadn't gone far when Mrs. Frizzle stopped the bus. She turned a dial on the dashboard, and the bus began to change. Thank you for listening to me read.
Hi, my name's Aiden, and I'm going to be reading Return to Halloween. The rain stopped at exactly 3 o'clock in the morning. I remember the time because I was awake just before the clock in the hall chimed the hour. It was not the rain that woke me up, however, nor the ticking of the clock. It was a voice. "Harold," it whispered in my ear, "something terrible is going to happen." "Go away," I thought, but the voice persisted. "Harold," it intended, "wake up." I knew that voice. Who else would wake me in the middle of the night just to tell me something terrible was going to happen? "What do you want, Chester?" I mumbled without opening my eyes. "I've seen an omen." He was louder now. That I knew he successed in awakening me. "Don't you want to see it?" "That's okay," I said, yawning. "I'll wait for it to come out on video. Very funny. Come on, Harold. It's not every day you get to see an omen." I was going to point out that it was night, not day, but I knew that the difference would be irrelevant to Chester. I was awake now, too. He raced over to join us. "I want to see an omen, Pop," he said to Chester. How, for an unknown reason, calls Chester Pop? "What's an omen?" "A sign that something terrible is going to happen," Chester replied. Howie shook his head. "I've seen signs like that," he muttered. "No dogs allowed. Don't you hate that one? And here's one that really means something terrible is going to happen. Don't walk when the hydration is on the other side of the street." Chester pretended to ignore Howie. "Come on, you two," he said. Apparently, he was unimpressed by the fact that I had both of my front paws over my face and was loudly snoring. "Stop faking, Harold," he said, tapping my eyelids. "Open up. Let's go." Much against my will, I followed Chester. And the relentless energetic Howie into the front hall. Thank you to listening to me read.
I am Jacob, and I am going to be reading How to Cheat a Dragon's Curse. Winters were always cold in the Viking lands, but this winter was the coldest in 100 years. It was so cold that the Salton Sea had frozen over, and all the islands in the inner isles were now joined together by a great flat desert of solid ice, 2 meters thick in places. On this particular cold morning, several hours before breakfast, it was as if the whole world was holding its breath, frozen in time. The air was as sharp as broken glass. No sound disturbed the pure snowy silence. No sound, that is, apart from an appalling mad screaming coming from somewhere out in the middle of the ice. For a small party of young boys and their teacher from the hooligan tribe had set out from the little Isle of Burt, where they lived in the island of Valiani, to the south. Not in a boat, of course, for you cannot sail across the frozen sea. They were speeding far too fast across the ice in an enormous wooden Viking sleigh, pulled by 6 pure white saber-toothed driver dragons, larger than lions and faster than cheetahs. The dreadful mad yelling was coming from the man driving the sleigh, Garber the Belch. Garber was the teacher in charge of the pirate training program, Umberg. He was an enormous monster of a man, wrapped up in furs who could easily have been mistaken for a grizzly bear with a dirty red beard and an attitude problem. "Get on with it, you miserable white worms," roared Gobber as the saber-toothed dragons cracking his whip above their heads. "I've had snails that have moved quicker than you lot. My granny could skip faster than this, and she's 104. Yeah!" One gigantic free arm lashed out with a whip that curled through the air like a great black serpent. The other shook the reins in a lunatic frenzy that sent the driver dragons bounding forward in terrible, uncontrolled leaps. Behind Gobber on the sleigh sat 12 of his pupils. 10 of these boys were ugly young thugs yelling as loudly crazy excitement as their teacher. Thank you for listening to me read.
Hi, my name's Lance, and I'm going to be reading Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Ugly Truth. So I think everyone's a little burned out by now. When Uncle Gary got married the third time, Mom didn't bother to replace the picture of his second wife on the mallet. She just taped a photo of the new wife's head on top of the old one. Uncle Gary's not a bad guy or anything. He's just rushed into these relationships too quickly. He got edged to his first wife, Linda, 2 months after they met, and she didn't even find out what he did for a living until their wedding day. And I heard Uncle Gary's second wife, Charlene, thought he had a lot of money because of a miscommunication on their second date. It turns out Uncle Gary only had $45, not $45,000. But Charlene didn't find that out until it was time to pay the wedding band. Dad's always saying Uncle Gary needs to grow up and stop acting like a child, but if I were Dad, I won't hold my breath. I found out Uncle Gary's wedding is going to be in November, and the reception will be at my great Gammy's house. Like last time, Gammy is 94 years old, but she still lives in a big house where she grew up. She's like the official head of the whole Heffley family. Gammy is one of the people who in the world still writes letters, and when she writes you a letter, she expects you to write one back. I've tried to explain to Gammy that people my age don't know how to write letters with a stamp and a return address and all that stuff, but she doesn't want to hear it. At Uncle Gary's last wedding, Gammy handed me a star letter plus an envelope with her address and a stamp on it, so I won't have any excuse to not write back. Thank you for listening to me read.
Hello, my name is Brendan. I'm reading A House of a Million Pets. It hardly counts to include my dogs as pets. Dogs are members of the family, don't you think? But since it would hurt my dog's feelings to not be mentioned first, I'll introduce them here. They're named Moxie and Beanie. Moxie is the black and tan one. She is 12 years old. Beanie is the brown one. He is 6. Beanie is the one with the worst breath on the planet. Moxie is the one with the worst breath in the universe. No matter how often we have her soft greenish-brown teeth cleaned, her breath smells like 1,000 dead lobsters. She also barks every minute, all day long when she isn't sleeping. She also goes especially nuts when she hears someone knock at the door. In fact, you can knock on the wall right next to her head and she'll start barking. And she pees a little bit every time someone outside her family pats her. Actually, Moxie's a kind of dud. When the kids and I met a Dutch young breeder who had a litter of puppies for sale, we picked out an adorable 7-week-old female puppy, whom all 3 of us loved right away. David came with us, and next week we drove and got her. To our surprise, he didn't like the puppy we picked out. He thought she was too jumpy and squeaky. I like this one better, he pointed to Moxie, who was sitting and staring at the air. She seems calmer. The breeder frowned. That puppy doesn't have much on the ball, she said. When a breeder tells one of her dogs isn't great, you should listen. I think we should take her. David turned to us. Would that be okay? The kids and I weren't excited about the change, but we said okay. All the puppies were darling. It wasn't as if David was suggesting we replace our first choice with a pup instead of... Oh, our first choice was a pup, not with a spider. The breeder was very grouchy about it. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for listening to me read.
My name's Derek, and I'm going to be reading The Race Across America. Another hour went by. The lights were dim. I looked around me. Everybody was sleeping. Even Bruce was snoring. I knew I needed to rest a little before we landed. After all, I had quite an adventure in front of me, so I closed my eyes and tried to doze off, but no luck. I called the flight attendant and asked for a cup of hot cheddar, thinking that would help relax me. But no luck. At the end of the flight, I looked frazzled, and Bruce looked like he just returned from a trip to the restful rodent spa. It wasn't fair. I tried to cross my legs. No. I tried putting down my head on the tray in front of me. No luck. I tried hugging my knees and resting on them. No luck. I tried throwing my legs over the armrest. No luck. I tried curling up into a fur ball. No luck. I tried pushing my knees on the seat in front of me. No luck, no luck, no luck. We landed in San Diego, California. I was totally zoinked, and not just because I couldn't sleep. The time difference was really made me feel terrible. You see, it was 9 a.m. in San Diego, but back home in New Mouse City, it was midnight. Thank you for listening to me read.
Hi, my name is Julia, and I'm reading My Lucky Day. One day, a hungry fox was preparing to hunt for his dinner. As he polished his claws, he was startled by a knock at the door. "Hey, Rabbit," someone yelled outside. "Are you home?" Rabbit, thought the fox. If there were any rabbits in here, I'd have eaten them for breakfast. When the fox opened the door, there stood a delicious-looking piglet. "Oh, no," screamed the piglet. "Oh, yes," cried the fox. "You've come to the right place." He grabbed the piglet and hauled him inside. "This must be my lucky day," the fox shouted. "How often does dinner come knocking on the door?" The piglet kicked and squealed. "Let me go, let me go." "Sorry, pal," said the fox. "This isn't just any dinner. It's a pig roast, my favorite. Now get into the roasting pan." It was useless to struggle. "All right," sighed the piglet. "I will, but there's just one thing." "What?" growled the fox. "Well, I am a pig, you know. I'm filthy. Shouldn't you wash me first?" "Just a thought, Mr. Fox." Said the fox to himself. "He is filthy." So the fox got busy. He collected twigs, he made a fire, and he carried water. And finally, he gave the pig a nice bath. "You're a terrific scrubber," said the piglet. "There," said the fox. "Now you're the cleanest piglet in the county. You stay still now." "All right," sighed the piglet. "I will, but..." What?" growled the fox. "Well, I am a very small piglet, you know. Shouldn't you fatten me up just to get some more meat?" "Just a thought, Mr. Fox." Said the fox to himself. "He is on the small side." So the fox got busy. He picked tomatoes, he made spaghetti, he baked cookies, and finally he gave the piglet a nice dinner. "You're a terrific cook," said the piglet. "There," said the fox. "Now you're the fattest piglet in the county, so get into the oven." "All right," sighed the piglet. "I will, but..." What? shouted the fox. "Well, I am a hard-working pig, you know. My meat is awful tough. Shouldn't you massage me first, just to get a more tender roast?" "Just a thought, Mr. Fox."
said the fox to itself. I do prefer tender meat. Thank you for listening to me read.
My name's Macy and I'll be reading Happy Birthday by Kitty. Big Kitty is the biggest kitty in the whole neighborhood. Big Kitty is much bigger than Kitty. Big Kitty weighs much more than Kitty. Everything about Big Kitty is bigger. Even his hairballs are pretty darn big. I sure hope we have enough birthday cake. Even Big Kitty's present is big. Wow, I wonder what it could be. Kitty, why don't you open up your present later when... Rip, tear, rip. Never mind. Look, Kitty, it's a dead mouse. Eek, zing. I guess it wasn't dead after all. The twin kitties are brother and sister and the cutest kittens in the whole neighborhood. More than anything, they love to play, and they love to play with Kitty. On those rare occasions when Kitty is not in the mood to play with them, they play with Puppy. Look, Kitty, they brought you not one, but 2 presents. I wonder what's in them. Rip, tear, rip. Look, Kitty, it's a ball of string and a ball of twine. How thoughtful. I'll just put them on the present table where they'll be safe. Stinky Kitty is a stinkiest kitty in the whole neighborhood. He never brushes his teeth. He's always getting dirty, and he likes to sleep in his litter box. But Stinky Kitty did bring you a nice-looking present. I wonder what it is. Look, Kitty, it's an old cardboard paper towel tub. Oh, well, Kitty, it's a thought that counts. Let's put it on the table where it will be safe. Chatty Kitty is a meow, 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 and she likes to meow, 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 and she even likes to meow, meow, meow. Never mind. Chatty Kitty has brought you such a nice-looking present. Why don't you open it right now? Do you think I could borrow some of that paper to put in my ears? Thank you for listening to me read.
Hi, my name is Zach and I'm reading Alice in Wonderland. Alice was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister on the bank and of having nothing to do. Once or twice she had peeped into the book her sister was reading, but it had no pictures or conversations in it. And what was the use of a book, thought Alice, without pictures or conversations? So she was considering in her own mind as well as she could, for that hot day made her feel very sleepy and stupid, whether the pleasure of making a daisy chain would be worth the trouble of getting up and picking the daisies when suddenly a white rabbit with pink eyes ran close by her. There was nothing so very remarkable in that, nor did Alice think it so very much out of the way to hear the rabbit say to itself, oh dear, I shall be late." When she thought it over afterwards, it occurred to her that she ought to have wondered at this, but at the time it all seemed quite natural. But when the rabbit actually took a watch out of its waistcoat pocket and looked at it, then hurried on, Alice stared to her feet for seeing a rabbit with either a waistcoat pocket or a watch to take out, and burning with curiosity, she ran across the field after it, and was just in time to see it pop down a large rabbit hole under the hedge. In another moment, down went Alice after it, never once considering how in the world was she going to get out. The rabbit hole went straight on like a tunnel for some way, and then dipped suddenly down, so suddenly that Alice had not a moment to think about stopping herself before she found herself falling down what seemed to be a very deep well. Either the well was very deep or she fell very slowly. Thank you for listening to me read.
Hi, my name is Sage, and I'm going to be reading Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Ugly Truth. Since I went to bed at 7:30 last night, I woke up really early this morning, and when I came downstairs, I saw a big white binder sitting out on the kitchen table, and all of a sudden, the grilled cheese sandwiches and the story and the early bedtime all made sense. Grandpa was using the manual Mom made for him last time he took care of us, 8 or 9 years ago. I flipped through the pages, and sure enough, it was filled with instructions for how to take care of us when we were little kids. At least 95% of it was totally outdated. R is for red fruit juice. Don't let Roderick drink any before bedtime, as it may make him extremely hyperactive. Some of the stuff in there was actually pretty embarrassing. I'm just glad I found the mail before Roderick did, or he'd never let me hear the end of it. S is for sneakers. Gregory calls his sneakers Wild Boys. He does not know how to tie his left and right shoe apart, so he will need help getting them on. I flipped through the page with T on it, and here's what I found. T is for television. The boys may watch up to 30 minutes of educational programming a day. I don't think I'm going to survive a whole weekend with Grandpa if I'm not allowed to watch a lot of TV, so I ripped that page out and drew up a new one. T is for television. Gregory is allowed to watch as much as he likes. So then I realized the S page was on the back of the T page, so I had to replace that one too. S is for spanking. It's what you should do to Roderick if he ever leaves the house without asking first. Monday. Unfortunately, Mom and Dad got home before Roderick did yesterday, and Grandpa went back to his condo, which is a shame because I was really keeping my fingers crossed about the S thing. Mom said that she and Dad did a lot of thinking over the weekend, and they agreed that things have started to slip around the house ever since she started going back to school. Thank you for listening to me read.
Hi, my name is Sid, and I will be reading Innocent for a Friend. I looked over the staircase and imagined the dark, gloomy halls upstairs. I'm not sleepy, I yawned. Oh, guess you are. Do you want me to go up with you? I'm exhausted, said Grandma. I think I'll go to bed myself. Let's go, Wallace. She hauled me up off my chair with one strong hand gripping me on the arm and led the way upstairs. First of all, she said, when we got to the top of the stairs, we'll leave the hall light on, and leave your door open and leave my door open. I might even sleep with my light on. Oh, Grandma, you're not really scared too, are you? I merely laughed, even though I kept looking around as if something was lurking in the shadows. No, dear, of course I'm not scared. There's nothing to be afraid of. Do you want to use the bathroom first? Grandma, I whispered, did they tell you how it happened? She pulled me in a room, quickly flipping the light switch on. It is really interesting, she said, sounding almost excited. You see, Mrs. Tucker was out on a regular Tuesday night bowling league. She bowled with a team from her office called the Compton Business Machinists. Right. Anyway, there she was, just about to try for a 7-10 split, when she overhears a woman talking in the lane next to hers. And this woman is talking about Mr. Tucker, her husband. How does she know that? Because of all the things the woman said. It could only be Mr. Tucker. Anyway, the woman is saying Mr. Tucker has been seeing another woman, and everyone in the whole office knows about, except Mrs. Tucker. Did he work for the Compton Business Machines too? No, I think he works in an accounting firm. Thank you for listening to me read.
We love reading!
What do you love?
Reading!
Where do you go to school?
Clear Creek School!
And what grade are you in?
4th!
And who's your teacher?
Mrs. Hannebrink!
Is she the best teacher in the world?
Yeah!
Hip hip hooray!
Hip hip hooray!
Hip hip hooray!
Hip hip hooray!
Yay, Mrs. Hannebrink!
Yay, Mrs. Hannebrink!
Bravo!